What you wanna do, baby? Where you wanna go?
Oh, hey guys, so this is Jacob from Team Robbing Ninjas. Just here to talk to you guys about our multi-device party game called Ninja Robbers. So when I say multi-device party game, Enbo's just going to explain kind of what we mean by having multiple devices to facilitate experience.
So as a multi-device party game, it draws a lot of cues from existing board games. A lot of the social gameplay is the core of what's enjoyable about the game. A key feature of our game is the idea that you are one of many ninjas who will cooperate in order to get into a vault to steal some money, but on the way out, you try to take each other out to get a bigger share. So it's that very dynamic shift between cooperation and competition that offers its social intrigue. Currently, our digital prototype really revolves around the functionality of using a simple click and drag system of movement where the joystick is essentially any part of the screen that you choose. And the big screen will display what everyone can see, while the small screen is a more focused camera which follows your player.
The UX goals for this project, Ninja Robbers, is reflective of the nature of the game. It is a multi-device party game that takes cues from traditional board games that involves a lot of social intrigue and betrayal elements. Because this is a game that requires the different players to connect to a single main screen with their smartphones, there is a substantial amount of setup time, especially for those who are playing for the first time. So we have devised a set of UX goals in order to reflect the nature of the game, as well as how we wanted to create a game that is easy to pick up and play. Well, without further ado, here are our UX goals. Number 1, players engaging with each other socially. Number 2, it's easy to set up and connect to. Number 3, it's easy to learn but hard to master. Number 4, cooperation and competition is encouraged in equal measure. Now, number 1 and number 4 are very much to do with the core game mechanics and rule set, so we won't talk about them yet. But number 2 and number 3 are to do with the first contact experience, in terms of both teaching the players the mechanics of the game and teaching the players how to set up the hosting for the game. Now, the UX evaluation is done in stages. We have currently planned 4 different iterations of interactive prototypes that test slightly different aspects of the game. And they will be done in a format where 4 to 6 people participate in each testing session. The gameplay portion of the session will last 10 minutes, and after which we have a group discussion, a workshop-like discussion, where the interviewer asks the players what they think about certain elements of the game. The first prototype will be a lo-fi gameplay prototype where the basic movement mechanics are in there, and we are setting up to test how easy it is for the first-time player to understand the movement mechanics and to understand basic sneaking and detection. Interactive prototype number 2 is a slightly higher, more high-fidelity digital prototype that tests some of the interplayer game mechanics. We're really focusing on criteria such as how long are the players looking at their own smartphones, and how long are the players looking at the big screen versus how long they are talking to each other and looking at each other for tells. That's both the quantitative things that we will record in terms of our observations, as well as the feedback sessions. And finally, the third and fourth iterations of prototype will test extensively the actual in-game mechanics. We wanted to create a game that encourages lots of social cooperation as well as social intrigue, where you wanted a cooperation in order to get into the vote, but lots of backstabbing getting out of the vote. So success criteria is for the third and fourth interactive prototype is measured in how methodical their approach is to the game, and how much social exchanges there are between the game. What we don't want to see is people individually looking at their own screen, doing their own thing, without cooperation, rushing headlong into the treasure room.
So, in terms of the scenarios of use, we've decided to look at two main scenarios. One being the initial scenario where someone first downloads the app and kind of gets taken through the tutorial process, and the second scenario being a fringe scenario, in which case a group of people are playing the game and someone receives a phone call midway through the game. So our first scenario deals with how a user is first introduced to Ninja Robbers, their kind of first time experience. So like the details of this scenario are that so character John decides that he wants to play Ninja Robbers, and after downloading and installing the app, he then opens the app. Without talking about every stage, this first scenario basically takes a player through the first stages where they learn to play the game through a series of tutorials, both in how to control their character and also in how to download the host and host a game, as well as then joining to said game. And our second fringe scenario deals with how our game compensates when someone receives a phone call mid-game. The tutorial section of our first scenario is also where players are introduced to the lore of the kind of world that we're trying to create. So they get led through the tutorial level by a sensei character, which kind of develops, which helps the character develop as you move through the different tutorial exercises. So the tutorial will cover the kind of main areas of gameplay, including the kind of movement and interacting with different objects in the game world, like guards and chests and other kind of worldly items that are interactable. So for the moment, we've decided that the way that Ninja Robbers will deal with the kind of dropouts that occur when like a phone call happens in the middle of an app, we've decided that the way that we'll deal with that is by having the player kind of pause in mid-game, almost taken out of context for the other players. Just in fairness, like this is kind of how it's dealt with in most games, where if you get a disconnect or someone drops out, their player remains on the field, but it's kind of no longer controlled and is almost free for all for the other players to do with as they will.
Okay, so from all of us here at Robbing Ninja, we'd just like to say that we're really excited to deliver this game for you guys. For now, over and out.
This right here is my